just a few words this morning. The gospel is so clear. There's a story. You mind if I kneel on this because of my back? There's a story in Leo Tolstoy about a shoemaker who was praying for business. Praying for business. And suddenly he hears a loud clang, and there's horses drawn carriage with a man. And he goes into the store and he says, are you Sergei, the bootmaker? And he said, yes, I am. He says, I want you to make me the most expensive boots that you can with the finest leather, for tomorrow is my feast. And we have a party, and I want to go there in all my glory. So, and I'll come back in a few days and retrieve the boots. So he goes, comes back, and wow, those boots were the finest leather. He was very happy, and he in fact gave the man more than he asked for to fix the boots. And on his way home, he took his last breath. And his funeral was in the boots. That was his celebration, not another kind of celebration. He thought that these boots were going to be his glory, but God had something else in mind, which goes to the gospel today. But what precedes the gospel is the epistle, which says that we are all called by grace. And the epistle that was yesterday was very interesting, because it talks about our human interaction and how we have to relate to one another, and how we have to work out things with one another, and not to be fractious. And then we come to this epistle, says we are called by grace. Well, my goodness, if we are called by grace, it means that our lives have to be different. The minute that we are chrismated, and we have a new chrismated gal here today, it means that you put off the old man, you put on the new, and you've been given the grace of the Holy Spirit to live a good life, a holy life, a Christian life. And the moral of the story of today, it's so simple. Is this man thought that he could keep building and building and building and building, and for today I'll eat, drink, and be merry. And the Lord said, sorry, buddy, tomorrow your soul will be required of you. We have in our lives a false sense of security. I used to think to myself, do you think that Mercedes-Benz is your security? Do you think that multi-million-dollar house is going to house you forever? Do you think that all the expensive clothes you have are going to clothe you with glory when you see God? I think that we need to have another perspective on our life. Eugene gave me a book about the toll houses, something that I never heard about when I was even in seminary. But it's about when you die, you'll go through stages of judgment as to what you've done or not done in this life. And I kind of believe a little bit in the sense that when we die, we will stand face to face to divinity. And we will be judged by how we lived our life. What words slipped out of our lips? What are our human relationships? What are our securities? Were our securities only a material thing? Because you know this, that America is a military bastion. I'm reading the Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky for the 100th time. And there's a story in there between the Grand Inquisitor and Jesus. And the Grand Inquisitor says that Jesus gave up the material thing because the devil tempted him in the desert. Tempted him. He said, but we give the people bread. We give the people authority. We give the people their freedom because we are their freedom. And he's a Monsignor, a Spanish Monsignor in the Roman Catholic Church. It's a tale. But what it illustrates is that you have two opposing thoughts. One, that the church is going to tell you everything you're supposed to do and not do. Well, that's not a power church. That's not orthodoxy. We don't have that in the Orthodox Church. True freedom in our understanding is not to have a multiplicity of wants. So it means that in order to come close to God, we have to, and I don't know how many of you know C.S. Lewis, about the lion when he shed his skin. We shed our outer side till we come to the real gold that is within. And that's what happens when we see God. St. Paul's epistle, or St. Peter rather, said that when we see God, the gold will remain and the straw will be burnt. In other words, our human contingency, but our good deeds, our soul, the gold of our soul will remain. So today the lesson is to put our lives in perspective, to understand that we can't have everything we want. It is not necessary to be possessed by I want, I need, I must have. You know, there's that British poet, all of a sudden his name escapes me, Oscar Lewis. He said, the marvelous thing about Jesus is that he understood the quality of the blind man, the silence of the deaf, and the strange poverty of the rich man. So I think it's better for us to have a little bit of poverty in our relationship to the world and have a richness towards God. And know that we store up nothing. And nothing belongs to us in the end. Can you do it? Can we do it? That's a big question. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.